What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. And let's cram this video in. I want to talk about two things in this video. Firstly, I want to pay tribute to probably one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. In a lot of people's opinion, probably the greatest footballer of all time. In Maradona, Diego Maradona. Obviously, he passed away yesterday. The reports suggest that or not suggest, but the reports say that he died with a heart attack. He had a cardiac arrest. I think most people that follow Diego Maradona's life know that this day was probably probably near. Many people are surprised he lasted that long. He lasted to 60 years of age. We all know his troubles outside of out in his personal life, with his addiction and stuff. But listen, like, I don't really like looking at people's personal life, because that's not for us to judge. That, God can judge, judge people, and let God, judge how someone's character was and how they behaved in this world. That's not for a human to really judge. We're not here to judge people. We're here to, I more look at Maradona's life as a footballer, what Maradona did on the football pitch. And to be honest with you, I think the word genius gets branded around a lot. I think the sport that I love in boxing, we had a genius, and he was Muhammad Ali. He was probably the greatest sportsman. In my opinion, Muhammad Ali was the greatest sportsman. But what Maradona brought to football was a bit like Ali, but he wasn't as intellectual, articulate as Ali. Maradona spoke up against the system. Maradona was very energetic, and he was great. And you know what the thing was with Maradona? Same with Ali in boxing, is the fact that you didn't want to miss that moment where you could say, wow, I was there. I was watching when Maradona did that. I was there when Muhammad Ali did that. Because they were gifted. They were entertainers. They were guys that we used to love watching, because they entertained. Now, both of these guys were before my time. Unfortunately, both of these guys were before my time. But I watched highlights, extensive highlights of both of them. Watched Muhammad Ali's full fights on highlights. Watched Maradona's games. And Maradona, like I said, he was an absolute genius. He was probably the first, there was Pele, but he was probably first global icon. Like, Maradona's known everywhere, all over the world. And it's sad, that the way he's demised, he's a bit of an irrational character, but like I said, what a great, great footballer. The guy was an absolute genius, on a football pitch. Like that goal that he scored against England. I know England love to go on about the first goal he scored with his hand, but that second goal he scored against England, he just went past the whole team as if they didn't exist. He made the whole of the England team look silly. Like, they're pro footballers, and it just went past them like they didn't exist. And he did that numerous of times. He did that virtually in his prime, virtually every, he could do that every game. And it wasn't just the fact that he could beat players. He was just born to play football. He was just naturally so gifted. Maradona, he was just a unique kind of talent, like Ali was in boxing. He's just unique type of human beings on and off, the pitch or the ring. Ali was different. Ali was a lot more intellectual. Maradona was a lot more. He would speak up against the system, but he wouldn't do it in an articulate way like Ali did. Ali spoke up against the system, but in a beautiful way. Ali was a rebel in a beautiful way, like where he was fighting. He was freedom fighting. Muhammad Ali was on a level. Like I said, I've always said I feel he's the greatest sportsman of all time. But Maradona is definitely up there in the top 10 greatest sportsmen of all time. I think most people would say on raw talent and ability, he's probably the greatest footballer of all time. This is a guy that went to Napoli and ended up, an average team, making him a championship winning side. He won the World Cup virtually single-handedly. With Argentina. He was an unbelievable player and just unbelievable talent. And like I said, I don't think you'll get many sportsmen like that. We've lost Muhammad Ali, we've lost Diego Maradona. We've lost some really, really great icons of world sport. And I do think Maradona was another one. You know, no one comes close to Ali, but I think if anyone comes close, it is probably Diego Maradona in terms of what he did and how many people he appealed, how many people he entertained. His life, like he was quite even when he given interviews, although he couldn't speak English, you could tell he was quite a boisterous, quite a lively, energetic character, and that made him you know, compelling viewing. Not just while playing, but also while giving interviews. So the man was an icon. He was a genius, you know. And football is a game that I love watching, and Maradona was a delight to watch. I think any football fan, hardcore football fan, would say Maradona was a delight to watch, especially the people that were around at that time. Like I said, no one had seen anything like it. The things that he could do, you know, as Gary Lineker explained, you know, Maradona juggled the ball to the halfway line, kicked the ball up in the air, miles up in the air. Before the ball would bounce on the volley, kick it up in the air, and he did that 13 times without the ball bouncing, smashing it in the air, not even having to move about 2-3 steps. This is the kind of control he had. The ball was stuck to his feet. An absolute icon, a legend, and you know, it's sad the way he went, because you know, he was just young, 60s, not old. But again, some people may argue that even that he lasted that long is a miracle, because everybody knows the kind of troubles he had outside in his personal life. So, you know, I'll just say, what a footballing career, you know. Like I said, I don't really like to dwell on someone's personal life. I like to dwell on what he did in terms of entertaining people in around that time as a footballer. And I think there's no doubt that he was probably probably the greatest footballer, you know, on raw ability and talent, right? Maybe not from a numbers point of view statistically, but from a raw talent and ability point of view, where you say this guy was just so gifted. He was probably the best, if I'm honest with you. Maybe didn't have the best discipline and dedicate himself like some of the other ones currently are, but I still feel that maybe on raw talent and natural ability, Maradona was probably the greatest of all time. And in my opinion, probably in the discussion of being one of the greatest sportsmen of all time, in the top 10 for sure. So guys, just a little tribute to great sportsman in Maradona. And now on to another great sportsman in the sport that I love talking about, which is boxing. A guy that, you know, needs no introduction in the boxing world, and that's Manny Pacquiao. I wanted to do a video about what is Manny Pacquiao going to do next. What's his next move? A lot of people are waiting for what he's going to do next. There's a couple of options out there. There's Conor McGregor being talked about. There's Mikey Garcia being mentioned. There's Terence Crawford. There's Errol Spence. What's Manny Pacquiao going to do next? Now, Conor McGregor would be, in my opinion, a great fight for Manny Pacquiao. It's a fight against not a boxer. It's a huge payday, probably the largest payday out of all of them. It's probably the easiest. It's not probably. It is the easiest fight out of all of them. That's an option, and Conor McGregor seems to very confident that's going to happen. There's also, you know, Mikey Garcia, who seems to think that Manny Pacquiao is going to fight him next. Mikey Garcia was very confident, you know, in an interview that he gave with Fight Hype, that Manny Pacquiao is going to fight him next. I don't know how he was that confident, because none of Manny Pacquiao's camp has said anything, and we don't know what's going on with Pacquiao. And I would love to see him fight. I would love to see Manny fight again, just from a selfish point of view. Should he? I don't know. But Mikey would be, again, I think would be a fight that Manny still wins, even at his age. Then we start going into the champions, where Manny could start unifying, and that's against Spence and Crawford. Crawford's been calling him out. Crawford wants a fight with Manny Pacquiao. I think he wants that fight next. I think he knows that Manny's not got long left. He wants that fight next Terence Crawford wants that fight next with Manny Pacquiao. that is a difficult fight for Manny right now. You know, I never count Manny Pacquiao out because Manny Pacquiao's an icon and a legend. So, you know, Manny Pacquiao's not someone that we can underestimate. You know, many people didn't think he'd beat Thurman. And a lot of people said, well, Thurman was a bit over the hill. Well, Manny Pacquiao's 42, 41. So if there's anyone over the hill, it's him, not Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman's still young, right? So I don't want to hear anyone say Keith Thurman was over the hill, because Keith Thurman was somebody in his prime still compared to Pacquiao, who's 41, who's way past his prime, and yet he still beat a young champion, undefeated champion. Let's get that straight, right? Manny deserves a lot of credit for that. So in terms of Manny fighting Terence Crawford, I think it's definitely a fight that, you know, I think Terence Crawford will be a favorite, maybe a big favorite now. Maybe a year or two ago, I would have said it's a 50-50, but I think now, with the inactivity of Manny, and with Terence having some great fights, I think you have to make him a strong favorite. But again, like I said, it's not a fight where you can count Manny off. And the Errol Spence fight, the same. Errol Spence, a big welterweight. He's strong. He's a very, very strong guy. He can punch. And that would be a very dangerous fight, just because of the size of Spence, the strength of Spence. That's again a very, you know, you'd have to say that again, Spence would be a substantial favorite in that fight. And at the age Manny's at, these are fights that many people will think that are probably past the capability of Manny at this point for Manny to win. And a lot of people just think that it's a good payday for Manny to retire on. But again, I don't, because I respect Manny Pacquiao and I respect his achievements and know what he's done in the game. I know that you can't write someone like that off, because he's such a great fighter, and these guys in his prime would have got battered. You know, Crawford and Spence. I don't care what people say about how good Crawford is and how good Spence. They ain't beating a prime Manny Pacquiao. Simple as that. I don't care. I can argue with anyone. Crawford does not beat a prime Manny Pacquiao. It's not a close fight. Manny would absolutely annihilate Crawford and Spence for that matter. But I think right now, obviously, they'd be substantial favourites. He's 41. He's undersized. You know, they're bigger than him. And obviously, they've got a lot of advantages. Youth on their side. Everything's on their side. But a lot of people think that Terence Crawford would stop Manny. I don't see that, if I'm honest with you. I don't see Crawford stopping Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao's got a granite chin. Someone mentioned that, oh, well, Thurman got hurt against Pacquiao, said that Thurman hurt him, but again, Thurman's a big welterweight and he can punch. Crawford's not that big a puncher, you know, at welterweight. You know, Manny Pacquiao fought Thurman, who I believe is a bigger puncher. So again, like I said, I still feel that Manny Pacquiao would be Crawford's toughest test to date. I don't think Crawford would struggle against Manny. I don't think it will be an easy fight, but again, it's a fight that you would expect Crawford at this stage to win. But again, I think those two fights would be, if Manny Pacquiao wins those two fights, or not two, if he even beats either of them, I don't know where you can rank him. I think, as Tim Bradley said, if he beats Spencer Crawford, you could easily say he's the greatest of all time, or you could easily put him in the top three. Some of his fans think he's the greatest already. I just find it hard to dislodge Muhammad Ali. I just think he was, for me, the greatest. Like I said earlier, I think he was the greatest sportsman of all time, let alone greatest boxer. But I think Manny's definitely in the discussion in the top 10. He's an unbelievable fighter. And whatever happens now, for me, Manny Pacquiao's a top 10 fighter of all time. And that in itself, when there's been so many great fighters and so many legends, to be in the top 10, top 5, I actually would say top 5, top 10, easy. Like, I just think Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao both probably deserve to be in the top 5. But some people may say, you know, when you dove into the history and, you know, of boxing, some people will find other guys. But I just think what both guys have done are exceptional. I think they're both legends. I think they're both head and shoulders above everybody else in this era. You know, and I just think they both spurred each other on, you know, and they both wanted to outdo each other. But again, I think they're both, again, for me, great fighters. Manny Pacquiao's record will never be broken of being an 8 division world champion. Mayweather's 50-0. He's a guy that's beaten everyone that's been put in front of him. Not the most liked guy, where Manny was loved. So they were kind of opposites, Mayweather and Pacquiao. One was loved, one was hated. But nevertheless, both were great. You know, I won't be surprised if Manny just hangs it up and retires. It wouldn't shock me if Manny Pacquiao says enough's enough and I'm done. Because he is 42. He is looking to become a president. So it won't shock me if Manny just says, that's it, that's me done, that's my career over. And if he does that, fair play to him. And what a career has been, legendary career. He again will go down as probably the greatest Filipino sportsman. I don't know. I don't really know that much about the Philippines, but I would have to say he may go down as the greatest Filipino of all time, potentially. Greatest entertainer, whatever, definitely sportsman, but he'll go down as, you know, like I said, Manny Pacquiao is of the modern era. He's one of the greatest. You know what I mean? Like, what he's done, 8 division world champion, and a guy that's come from where he's come from. It's incredible. This man's come from nothing, and he's carved out one of the greatest boxing legacies ever. You know, it's an incredible story about Manny Pacquiao. And when you look at his story, he wasn't a guy that was given the red carpet. This is a guy that came from, you know, he was a replacement against Ledwaba. And he was expected to lose that fight. And that's how he kind of got his recognition. It's incredible. His story is incredible when you look into it. And maybe when his career ends one day, I'll do a video about his career and his life and how he came up. And I think that I'll definitely do that when Manny does hang up the gloves, which I don't think that's long away, to be honest. But again, I'm just, when it comes to Manny Pacquiao, I'm always intrigued. I've always been a fan. I've admired him for over a decade now. I've always been interested in what he's going to do, what move he's going to make, who is he going to fight, because I know it's guaranteed entertainment, you know. Whatever he does, you know, like I said, I'll watch. If he fights Conor McGregor, I'll watch. If he fights Terence Crawford, we'll watch. If he fights Mikey, Manny can do what he wants at this point, you know, because he's not really got anything to prove. It's just either he wants to make a few quid, or either he wants to take another tough fight to add to his already stellar legacy. But the man's got nothing to prove. He's at the end. He can do what he wants, really. He's an icon either way. You know, an icon for the Philippines. You know, he's seen as basically what Maradona was seen to Argentina. That's what Pacquiao was seen as to the Filipinos. So I think whatever he decides to do, we're going to watch. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Who do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight? Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao? A lot of his fans have said you want to see him retire. And I don't blame you. I think, you know, he's 42. You know, he's had a great career. What's he got to prove? Nothing, really. What do you guys want to see Manny Pacquiao do? If you want to see him fight, name who you want to see him fight. If you want him to see him retire, let me know your opinions in the comment section. Let me know what you want to see Manny Pacquiao do. And guys, remember to like the video. I really appreciate all the likes. I'm getting a lot of likes of late. So it's really helping with my channel, really helping with the algorithm. I thank you for all the support over the years. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.